have to start the show today by congratulating Ballinamore. First Leitrim County Championship since 1990. A long, long wait, because usually you associate these famines, Niall, with, you know, the underdogs, the teams that don't usually get to them. These are the market leaders in Leitrim football. This is their 21st county title. The next best to them is their local rivals, Aughwillan, on 12. And Aughwillan have won 7 since Ballinamore last won one. So they got a little bit pissed off of this crowd, you know, catching up on their record. So like 31 years, a long time for a club with 20 titles already.
Yeah, I was reporting on this match yesterday, Willie, and I was looking through the history books and seeing that it was 31 years, and they'd only competed in 3 finals since 1990 as well. Like, so I suppose for the most successful club in the county, like, it was a huge drought, and just a huge occasion for them to get back to the final yesterday as well.
Absolutely was. A great football too, Lee, in fairness. Like, I mean, a lot of people raving about the standard of football, a lot of kick passing, some fantastic scores in it as well.
Yeah, it was really brave football. It was end to end. They were both teams were really going for it. And there was a lot of standout players, but Wayne McKeown, he was halfback for Ballinamore, number 7. He was just a beast of a man. I was really impressed with him. He was ploughing through everybody. I actually thought he looked a little like Mickey Burke, the Honey Badger, you know, for me, just because the tattoos, the stature, the build and everything, and just the way he tackled. And then at full time, the camera was on him and he dropped to his knees. He had his hands in his face and the emotion just overcame him, you know, and it was strange to see, you know, such a burly, strong, powerful man, you know, like drop to like that. But that's just how much it means to them, you know.
Yeah, he threw a dummy solo for his point too, a nice little one from it just to get it. He actually made the angle even tighter with the dummy solo. There was no need for it at all.
Yeah, he was playing with such confidence at that stage. Like the whole way through the game, he was. You'd hear about a lot of players kind of shooting on sight, but this lad was just passing on sight, and he was passing off the outside of the boot, the inside of the boot, and he was on fire yesterday, and definitely a well-deserved man of the match.
Yeah, it definitely was. And then there was some great scenes at the full-time whistle. Obviously a pitch invasion. You had the captain, Dean McGovern, crying before he lifted the cup and gave the cup a lovely little kiss then and kind of cried again. And it's like, Jesus, we needed that. I think we needed that a bit, Niall, didn't we? I know there has been some good scenes, but it's the first county final there where you're actually going, brilliant game, close game, until the last minute, pitch invasion, crying, tears, long wait, famine. Now we're into club season, I feel.
What more could you ask for, really?
Yeah.
No, but like from the very outset yesterday, there was just a county final feel to that game. Like there was the parade before the game, there was a band there was a huge crowd at the game as well. And there was just, even before the ball was thrown in, I knew we built up to the game a bit last Thursday, but you just felt there was going to be a tight, close game. And that's exactly what it was yesterday. I suppose the game, like all the sideshows were good, but the game was brilliant as well. Like it was end-to-end stuff. There was tight, and there was, as well as that, like it was kind of direct football. There was no, in a lot of football games these days, you kind of see the ball being kind of passed around aimlessly, but it was Mohill were just booting the ball in the top of the full forward, and the whole way through it really was great stuff to watch.
Yeah, super stuff. In the 58-minute goal, Niall McGovern, Dean's brother, Dean gave him the pass. If he didn't score this was an absolutely brilliant finish, Lee. If he didn't score this, he would have been absolutely killed. Like, there's literally a hand pass there for another man to sidestep across and go around the goalkeeper, and it's in the net. Chose not to do it. Went himself, backed himself, and an absolutely brilliant finish.
Yeah, I mean, fortune favours the brave. He was the coolest man on the pitch that late in the game. He had nothing but goal on his sights. But I was sort of looking at it and I was kind of thinking the person who was standing free to try to get the palm goal, was he maybe capable for a square ball? I don't know, or maybe that was going through his head, or probably more likely, you know, he just thought, you know, this is my moment and I'm going to take it, and then he took it with both hands.
Could have been that either, but like another thing, when there's a man inside you and you go yourself, it does mess with your head, as in, shit, you know, should I give that? You need an awful lot of confidence to ignore that one, because that's the one you'll be lynched when you go back into the restroom if you don't miss that. The greediness of that, to not give it inside. Like, you know, you would talk about it and everything. So psychologically, by ignoring that man inside, you need incredible confidence, you know, to be able to stick it away like he did.
I think every player has experienced that at a few stages in their career when you're running through on goal And not only do you have to beat the goalie, you kind of have to beat that voice in your head, like, should
Yeah,
I
yeah.
pass?
I'd always give it,
Should I
just
go?
so that you're covered yourself. You've covered yourself.
I think it was about 5 minutes earlier, there was a very similar situation, and they gave the ball, and the fella he gave it to kind of delayed a small bit, and it was saved by the Mohill goalkeeper. So I'd say Niall McGovern, he was probably just thinking, right, we've missed the last one, I'm going to boot this one now. And it was a brilliant finish too, like, drilled it low and it stayed to the ground.
Yeah.
The goalie hadn't a chance, like.
Yeah, no, it was an absolutely brilliant goal. All right, so we mentioned the scenes after the game, lads, and Ballinamore captain Dean McGovern was overcome with emotion. He was lifting the cup. I'm delighted to say Dean joins us on the line now. I'd say you're one happy man today, Dean.
Oh, absolutely delighted. I don't think it's really sunk in for myself or the teammates yet. It's been a crazy last 20 hours, but yeah, no, listen, it's brilliant. We're absolutely delighted.
So, like, it's 31 years. And, like, I mean, for a club like Ballinamore, who are the big successful club in Leitrim, you've 21 county titles now. The next best is 12 or 13. Like, I mean, this must have been really gnawing away at the club.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. But I suppose kind of the biggest thing for us, it wasn't mentioned a huge pile, in fairness, kind of, to get that number 21. But, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, gee, Mac, you just want to just get it and be done with it, and then kind of create kind of your own legacy going forward. Then that's kind of the way we were looking at it.
You were overcome with emotion. You were crying before you lifted the cup. You gave it a lovely tender kiss then, so it was a nice moment on the telly.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. Like, I suppose kind of from you start playing football, and you're playing in the front garden with your brothers and sisters, and you kind of maybe lift a fake cup after beating them in a match, and thinking to yourself, you might get to lift it someday in front of your club and your teammates. It's an incredible thing, and something you kind of picture it in your head, but when you do it, it's really incredible, to be honest.
Because you share around captains, do you? Like, I mean, when you were in 2019, you had a different captain that year.
Yeah, so we kind of share around captains. So Shane was our captain in 19. And then Wayne was our captain last year. He got man of the match yesterday. And then, lucky enough, I suppose, it was just Don put me as captain, the week of the league final, and unfortunately we lost that. But today we got the big one, and I'm just delighted that I was the one, got to end that 31-year famine.
So, like, I mean, we're talking about, obviously, the 31-year wait, you're crying. There's great scenes at the end of the game. And then for it all to be captured on the television. So, like, the whole country saw it. Did you notice after the game the attention it was after getting?
Yeah, so I suppose kind of the big thing was I was lucky enough when the final whistle went. The first people I met was Niall and Barry. So they're my brothers. And, we were crying and hugging each other. And it was just pure delight. And then the next person I met was obviously Keith Keegan, my marker from Mowell, and then I met my sister Emma, and I kind of just fell to the ground. Like, I remember, like, Cian Lynch saying, you're looking for your breath, and I remember thinking, geez, I can't breathe properly at all. It was incredible, and like, Emma was just kind of holding me, and I fell to the ground, and the TG car people were pulling me away to come and lift the cup before I could kind of greet the rest of my teammates. And I was kind of like, no, I just want to meet the rest of them. But they were like, no, we have to do it. It's all the schedules. But I was like, right, fair enough. So I kind of went with them.
Yeah, they're fairly cutthroat, those TG Carr. I got man of the match in a county final, and I was grabbed and pretty much dragged across the pitch. I couldn't celebrate either. It's like, Jesus, lads, relax. I know that, like, they are on a tight schedule, so they have to get the cup presentation or whatever interviews they want out of the way. But the celebrating with your teammates is pretty important too.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, you really have to appreciate, like, I remember kind of when they had me up on the podium or whatever, and getting ready to accept the cup, I said my uncle is like the vice chairman, in fairness, and I said to him, my mum had the speech, so I kind of wrote it the day after we won the semi-final. I just handed it to her, and I was like, listen, if we were happen to win, give it to me after that. And I was like, I need the speech off my mother. Like, I wouldn't have a clue what to say or who to thank or any of this sort of stuff. Kind of, you hadn't really kind of considered the final whistle going and you're winning and what takes place after. Unfortunately, I've never seen it as a kid or growing up, like 31 years, I'm only 24, so it was all alien to me. But thankfully just things worked out. And yeah, no, in fairness, they're fairly cutthroat, but just to see the boys after was incredible.
Yeah. Dom Corrigan said it was a great advertisement for Leitrim football. It was a fantastic game. Some brilliant points kicked, like lots of kick passing. Like, is that something Dom has focused on? You know, more a traditional brand of football, maybe?
Yeah, no, I suppose kind of the big thing was with us, like, he said it to me after the game when I was chatting to him, we were having our food. He said we had an 80% conversion rate, so we had one wide and two drop short.
Wow.
Like, that was way ahead of what we've been. Normally we were at the 65 kind of mark, but like, you know, to kick one wide in the county final and everything to kind of come to a culmination was brilliant. But Mohill was there. Mohill was at 68%, you know, and they kicked very little wides. Like, you've probably seen the points they kicked. Keith Byrne would kick great scores all day. And listen, like, I suppose kind of stats matter very little, but I just think, you know, the willingness of lads to get up the pitch and support each other was massive. Like, towards the end of the game, especially. How
did Dom end up managing you guys? What's the connection there? You know, he's ex-inter-county manager, so you know it's a big get for a club.
Yeah, so I suppose kind of Dom only lives 25 minutes away from Ballinamore. We're kind of on the Cavan from Anna border,
right?
So it's handy enough. And I suppose he's been quite influential, obviously, with St. Michael's. One of our players obviously played with them as well, so he's well kind of renowned with Ballinamore. He knows it well enough, and he was familiar enough with a lot of the previous players as well. So listen, it was a massive coup when we got him. Unfortunately, in the first year in 2019, we didn't win it. There was massive disappointment that year, and last year, you know, obviously we didn't get across the line either, but this year it made it so much sweeter. And listen, Dom's a brilliant manager. It's well renowned. Like, he wins county championships wherever he goes, and like, Leitrim's no different now.
You were involved in the goal. The goal was a huge score, obviously. Your brother Niall scored it. You would have absolutely killed him. What a finish that was. There was a man inside him. How did he not pass it in?
Oh, I don't know. I was going to kill him if he didn't pass, because the biggest thing we kind of work on is, you know, the palm across. But in fairness to Niall, he's a confident guy, and you know, if anyone's going to back himself, you know, it's going to be Niall. And in fairness to him, he delivered when we needed it most.
Well, that was kind of, well, I wouldn't say it was it, but there was such a big score at that stage.
Yeah, listen, I suppose Wayne kicked a massive score from 50 yards, I think, before it, outside the right, on the free, kind of in front of the stand. And that was a massive score. And then when we got the goal, I think everyone in the team kind of felt Mohill weren't going to score a goal.
Yeah.
And I think if we got one more score, I was like, yeah, I think we'll see it home and we'll get the Vina Cup home to Ballinamore.
Yeah, so it's a lovely feeling. County champions after 31 years. You're captain. A lot of you played. You played very well on the day. New Leitrim manager Andy Moran watching you from the stands. So, like, I mean, a nice start in front of him.
Yeah, no, listen, I suppose the biggest thing with Andy, I'd say, it was obviously, you've seen probably the reports probably on the Leitrim Championship. Like, there is good footballers in Leitrim. You know, you've seen Keith Byrne, you've seen the Shane Moran, you've seen the Tom Pryors, the Donald Flynn's, the Niall McGovern. These guys are good footballers. It's just the biggest thing in Leitrim is belief. You know, they can go out and play college football with some of the best footballers all over the country, and they won't be out of place. And for Andy Moran, I think the biggest thing for him is to bring a belief to the scene and just get lads to back themselves, because obviously we're not going to be competing for the Sam Maguire. That's a given, I suppose, kind of with the top 6-8 teams all over the country. But I suppose as a county, you know, we were in Croke Park in 2019. Them days are massively special, and you know, you want them to come around more often than they have been.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, what happened then, you know, in Terry's second year wasn't as positive as the first one. I suppose when you get to the championship, you come up against a Roscommon or a Mayo or something, and sure, it's almost an impossibility.
Well, I suppose Terry's second year, we had a good enough start to the league. We drew with Derry, up in Derry, and then we played Cork, you know, who's top 8-10 team in their own right. And, you know, we were 3 points down to them in the second half. Lost to them by 8 in the end, but it was a game that got away from us. Loudford was a game we could have won as well, but, you know, I think the COVID thing, we probably didn't manage it as well as a whole group. And, you know, looking back, it's probably something we probably regret a wee bit.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I know you want to get back into the celebrations. Are you back in Plan B? I suppose Plan B will give you 7 championship games against, a similar level, a Talton Cup to play for as well. What are your thoughts on that before I let you go?
Yeah, no, I would be back. I'm not hugely familiar with it, to be honest. With you, Wooly, I haven't looked a huge amount into it. I was going to kind of wait until the club scene looked over. But I think the more games, the better. Everyone wants, like Leitrim people especially, like they're usually passionate about their football. They want to see Leitrim playing as much football as they can. And listen, if it makes us become a better county in football and wise, yeah, we're all for it here. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll let you back into that cup. It's a very small cup. You wouldn't even fit too much drink into that. I don't know I hope it's not.
I didn't even get to bring it home with me.
Did you not?
Get to bring it home with me. No, I didn't get to bring it home. So, listen, we'll enjoy the next few days, and we'll see where it takes us anyway.
Dean, thanks very much for taking the call, and congratulations.
Thanks a million, Wally. Take it, Andy.
Great stuff from Dean there. Geez, I'd love to be in Dean's shoes now, heading back into the pub there just for a nice day. Might watch the video, have a good chat with the lads. The day after is always a better day because the night of the county final is a complete blur. And just a little bit jealous. So congratulations to Ballinamore. We won't say any more than that. I hope they have a great day. Big news out of Clare, Niall. I'm going to show this to you. Is Tony Kelly. What's going on here? Right. So Tony Kelly looks like he's gone now for the rest of the club season, and he's going to miss next year's National League. Tony Kelly came on for his club yesterday, Ballier, scored 2 points. So he's obviously injured. Must have done it in training, whatever. So if you've made a mess of your ankle, why is he coming on? To make it worse, number one. Number two, if he's okay to come on and go through the pain barrier, can he not play one more bloody game or two? They're in the semi-final now. And number three, I'd say Brian Lohan is pulling his hair out with, the best player in the country being used by his club when he is injured. There's just so much. This is a little bit I don't know what to make of it.
It's a really strange one, Wooly. Like, you'd almost think our Ballier nearly bluffing a bit here, trying to let the other teams know that Tony Kelly is out or something like that, because it's such a strange one. Like, before the game yesterday, there was like the kind of talk in Clare was, is Tony Kelly going to play? Is he not going to play? And he warmed up and he was in his tracksuits, and like he was moving around, and he seemed kind of, maybe you weren't sure, like, because he was in the tracksuits. But then he didn't start the game. But then he came on, I think it was with 20 minutes to go. The game was tight enough at that stage, and Ballier, like, they needed Tony Kelly basically at that stage, and he came on and he was flying. Scored 2 like trademark Tony Kelly points, just bombing down the wing off the left.
So that's my point. If he's able to do that, why can't he play in 2 weeks' time and postpone that surgery if he needs it to play for his club? Because if he's willing to take a risk yesterday, it's no less of a risk for the next game, is it?
It must be a long-term sort of injury that he's had, Wooly, and you're just waiting for, like, surgery was needed at some stage, and maybe whether this is the only time he can get in, or whether
maybe it's that,
this is the right kind of thing to do. But I remember he did have, it was a 2020 All-Ireland quarter-final. He went down in the warm-up against Waterford that day, and he played through the whole game, like, and he wasn't bad, but he wasn't Tony Kelly as we usually see him, like. But I suppose it must be a long-term thing that has kind of been holding him back. But like, when you see him yesterday in the last 20 minutes, he certainly didn't look like a fella who hadn't holding him back, because I'm telling you, he was bombing down the wing. Like, he was in as a sub, and you could see he was in as a sub. The speed, he was leaving lads for dead, like.
Yeah, no, like he always does. It's a weird, like Brian Lohan, the county manager, like, I mean, obviously putting the loyalty, Lee, of the club to one side. This is your best player by a mile who's injured, and he's taking a chance with the club. He can't probably tell Tony Kelly not to because it's his club, but he's probably thinking, holy shit, you know what I mean? If this lad does more damage.
Yeah, it's an impossible sort of situation for them, the county manager. They must just be watching all of these club matches just through their hands, the fingers covering their face, because it's nerve-wracking seeing them get stuck in the heavy tackles, the county players going up against each other and starting scuffles, and you're probably just sitting back thinking, God, I'm going to have to try and solve that now when I get them together for the county. But it's just a mess.
Don't worry, we'll get to the Derry club football in a minute when you want to talk about that kind of stuff. Because there was war up there at the weekend. We'll get to that in a minute. Finish up with Clare here now. 6 Mile Bridge route, strange one. Shane O'Donnell's obviously back from the concussion. great to see him back actually, because like I mean he missed a good few Clare games from that one concussion he got in training. David Reedy and himself both scored 1-2. Surprising with this is that they hammered 6 Mile Bridge. Do you know 6 Mile Bridge had beaten them the last couple of years, and no one was expecting such a one-sided game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like Airog, they'd lost 6 Mile Bridge in the semi-final last year, the quarter-final the year before, so it was nearly becoming like a bit of a hoodoo for them. But yeah, it was very one-sided scoreline. Shane O'Donnell and David Reedy both got 1-2, so it seemed that 6 Mile Bridge weren't able to contain, like they would be Airog's 2 danger men anyway, but they definitely did the business for the boys.
Yeah, so they're dethroned in Clare. Nemo Rangers were dethroned in Cork. We might get that in a little while. Glenties beat Guidor in Donegal. Lee, this is some great news. We'll talk about this on Friday. This sets up a county semi-final against Kilcar, and this is obviously a repeat of the 2020 final, which is still, up under different committees to see who it was appealed. Kilcar appealed and won. Naomh Conaill re-appealed and they won. So then now they still are county champions. This is the 2020 county final that they used too many subs in or something like that. Or, that was the accusation. And I think it's at a third appeal stage now, Lee. So, that's a huge one. Glenties actually beat them pretty comfortably, Guidor. It was Kevin Cassidy wasn't playing and Eamon McGee, and they're pushing on. When you think back to their 2018 brilliant year where they won the Ulster, they were arguably their 2 best players.
Yeah, we talked a little bit how players, when they get a little bit older, especially former county players, you sort of move them to that full forward position, and I'm pretty sure that's what they did with Kevin Cassidy, and he was devastating for them. So you would think that he would be a big miss, but it is insane that they're just going to put that whole appeal thing, the fact that it's still the 2020 championship's not resolved and it's just being set on ice while they go and meet each other. It's essentially a year later, but might have to have a replay from the year before. It's like completely uncharted stuff in GAA history, surely. It'll set up a really fiery match, but I bet you they'll be counting every single sub, and being really diligent about everything that they do going forward.
Yeah, and it's on TG Cahir next Sunday, which is absolutely fantastic. So I told you, we've really kicked off now with the Sunday game. I thought some of the games so far, when you're watching first round match or group matches or quarterfinals, it doesn't have, what we got with Ballinamore and Mohill and what we will get, I'm sure, with Naomh Conaill. Naomh Conaill have some consistency. Like, they're there every year. They're such a dogged team. What happened up in Derry, Lee? So there was war with Lavey and Ballinderry. It was caught on video. I always wonder who videos these ones, because you're incriminating your own club players, or else it's just the person videoing it is a neutral that's just gone to watch the matches, only delighted to get all these boys suspended.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the younger people who are videoing it because they video everything. So any opportunity they get is, it's nearly just habitual at this stage for them. But it was doing the rounds in all of the WhatsApp groups. I've got 3 different angles from it now, and I'm still trying to suss out what's going on. I've written to a few people how exactly it started, who exactly was involved and stuff. But it was really, really chaotic, and proper digs were being thrown in. The subs jumped over the gate to try and get involved. People were trying to hold everyone back. It completely kicked off. But from my understanding of it, Lavey were much the better team, and Ballinderry didn't really put too much up against them. They're sort of a fading side, that Ballinderry. They were quite dominant in Derry in the sort of late noughties, but they're sort of running out of steam now, apart from maybe Garth McKillis and stuff. There are not too many involved with the county panel, and then Lavey's got a really young and up and coming team that you keep hearing about. They beat Slaughtneil earlier in the season. So yeah, it's all set up really, really nicely.
Well, unless Lavey get players suspended now from that video, those videos, I couldn't see that many clear punches. I saw an awful lot. It's like the camera was catching up on these, incidents rather than actually filming them. Maybe I didn't see the same version you did.
Yeah, well, there's 3 versions, maybe 4 that got all sent around. It depends on how many group chats you're in. It's mad that this has become a big function for WhatsApp in the GAA circles. It's just videos of fights that do the runs. But no, hopefully not. Because Lavey, they're set up now to be in a semi-final, I think, against Slaughtneil, and then Glen are playing the Loop. But from me as a neutral's point of view, what I want to see is a Glen and Slaughtneil final, because that would be a real derby. Them two absolutely hate each other. Glen would have been really, really successful underage. They've won lots of like minor Ulster titles and under 20 Ulster titles, while Slaughtneil have obviously been more dominant on the senior side. But this Glen team are finally starting to come through. They're both from like Mahara sort of area, so it is like an actual derby. They sort of have to share that village, that location. So to see them in a final, like from a neutral's point of view, is definitely what I want to see next.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye out for that. There was drama in London as well, lads. St. Kieran's won their second ever London title. 113 to 12 pounds. Wait till you hear this. St. Kieran's were playing against 10 men at one stage. So there was a row in this as well. Not to focus too much on the rows. There was a row going in at half time. There was 6 players sent off, 3 from both teams, and I think Fulham Irish at one stage had 3 players sent off and 2 black cards. Did 10 players on the field. Like, I mean, I've never heard it. Reads like a soccer report where, such and such were down to 10 men.
I'm just disappointed there was no one there to video this route. The London clubs, obviously, they want to keep their own players in the clear, and fair play to them for that, in fairness. But when it was down to 10 men, it's a soccer report kind of thing, and it means that basically there's one player missing from every line of the field for that club. Like, so it's just.
What would you do if you're down to 10 men? Just play with no forwards.
Jeez.
One forward, like, I mean, what shape do you? Well, you'd have to.
I wouldn't say any team has ever prepared for going down to 10 men in Gaelic football.
The what ifs that Alan Brogan was talking about. Yeah,
you want to be a coach who's prepared for absolutely every single eventuality.
Yeah, obviously goalkeeper, 6 backs, 2 midfielders, and 1 up front. Lee.
Oh God, yeah, I'm racking my head here. I don't even know if I'd stick the 1 up front. If it's 2 black yards, down to 10 men, like you've got 14 outfield players running at you, and it depends what sort of system they set up with to start with. Were they defensive? Was the plan to go at them? What were they doing in training all that week? That's a headache that I don't think any manager's really going to be equipped for.
No, definitely not. In the Tipperary hurling championship, a bit of drama here. In fairness, the Borrisoleigh game had loads of drama in it. John McGrath hit 4-5 in the first half of their match. Like they're not playing any kind of Egypts here. They're playing Kilruan McDonough's, and they only won by 3 points, 4-15 to 21 points. He scored 4-5 in a half of hurling, Niall.
Exactly, and then when they really needed a point late on, it was John McGrath who popped up with his point in the second half.
I would be very disappointed with him only getting 1 point in the second half. Important or not?
He had the damage done. Like it was the John McGrath show in Thurles. Like I think it was. He had 1-1 after 3 minutes. He had 2-2 after 10 minutes. 3-3 after 20. 4-5 after half an hour. Like he just stayed building it up the whole way through. But like,
his first goal was sensational, even though it was a very suspect hand pass to him.
No, the hand pass over the head. You'd see a lot of lads. It's a handy way to get yourself out of trouble. I think it was Liam Tracy. He did very well to set him up there. But like John McGrath, like what a loss. He obviously wasn't in form this year. Like he kind of had a tough year after, I suppose, losing the 2 county finals last year and never really recovered. But he kind of showed signs of the form when he came on against Waterford. I know his goal, Sean O'Brien saved his goal shot, but John McGrath looked lively that day, and ever since for Lockmore he's been absolutely, like, he's been on fire. But he's just like, I just haven't watched him so much, like being from Tipperary. I think when he's on form, there's no more stylish hurler in the country. Like the way he does it, he kind of just he kind of reminds me of Mo Salah in the way that he's never sprinting, but he's always finds himself in so much space. Like, and a defender trying to mark him, like he kind of just, he gives a little shimmy. He's kind of every time he has the ball, he gives it a little shake in his hands, or he's shaking his hips, and he can just kind of stand up then and throw it over as if it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, and he was on fire. The first goal was brilliant. The second, just the goalie didn't have a chance. Like, but it's huge for Tipperary next year that he will be on form. But also for Lockmore Castleiney, like Noel McGrath was brilliant, Lee McGrath was brilliant, Brian McGrath. It was the McGrath show in general. But with John in that form for the Tipperary Championship, like, I know Kildanyon are the defending champions, but Lockmore will be very hard to beat.
They will, yeah. And I think maybe even playing on the 2-man full forward line that Sheedy was kind of experimenting with, it maybe didn't suit McGrath as well. I do take the point with he got an awful doing in the club, losing both, and a big run to it. He seemed very tired. Borrisoleigh, like we mentioned, they beat Mullinahone after extra time. Imagine poor Paul Curran and Owen Kelly going to extra time. here. Like, I mean, you know, and the two of them playing so well for Mullinahone. It's a head scratcher with Mullinahone. Where have they come from now? You know, like, I mean, did they have a very good minor team or not? Like, I didn't think Mullinahone would be able to put it up to Borrisoleigh like that.
Yeah, well, sure, I know where they came from. They beat us in the county final last year.
That was it. Did you beat? And what did they beat you by? They only came up from Senior B.
Senior B, yeah. They beat us by 5 points last year. But, like, they would, like, traditionally, they would be a senior club. Like, and
yeah, they won one back in the naughty.
I think it was 2002 or 2002, yeah, one of them. Yeah. But, yeah, like, I suppose they've a few young lads that are coming onto the team, the likes of Mikey O'Shea, there's a Shelley, like Colin Shelley, cornerback, and Jack Shelley. He's a brilliant player for them. And do you remember Sean Kernwell? He used to play for Tipperary a bit back in the day, Paul's brother actually. But they're just a very sort of a strong team all over, with a brilliant work rate as well, and just very hard to beat. And I suppose that's what Borrisoleigh found out there on Friday night. Anytime they pulled away from Mullinahone were straight back, like, and sure, Owen Kelly, he scored 11 points, I think it was 2 from play, but he's been doing that all year this year, just kind of leading the thing for Mullinahone and, like, coming up with scores when they really need scores. Like, in the end, it took a bit of brilliance from Niall Kenny to sort of inspire Borrisoleigh, but they'll be a bit concerned. Brendan Maher went off injured with it seemed like a knee injury, so hopefully he's all right, because they'll definitely need him for the next round. Like, the 4 clubs in the semi-finals now, it's Thurles, Kildanyon, Lockmore, Borrisoleigh, and if you were to predict it at the start of the year, they probably would have been the 4. So it's all coming to an exciting conclusion in Tipperary.
Yeah, Nemo, I was mentioning, were out of the Cork Championship. Douglas beat them 110 to 11 points. It was a 57-minute goal, a bit like Ballinamore. Daniel Hart. Nemo were going for 3 in a row here, Lee. So, like, I mean, we're not seeing too many defending champions. We saw St. Bridget's and we saw a tie go out last week in Roscommon and Kildare. We see Nemo going out in Cork.
Yeah, they're all taking the Tyrone example. You know, it's not cool to win 2 in a row.
Dungannon too, yeah.
Yeah, you just want to go out in the get your title, and then you drink and you hang over, and then you go again in 2 years' time. That's the way to do it. But no, it's weird that the reigning champions, they're starting to lose a bit of steam. And I don't know if it's any trending theme or anything like that. Like, I mean, it's just so hard to win a county title, and then so to actually retain one, and the demands it takes, you know, to go again after giving so much of your life and commitment that first time round, you know, to go again the second, and then a third, and some occasions a fourth. You know, I mean, it's just a huge ask, and, you know, it has to stop at some stage.
It is, yeah. In Laois Championship, Portarlington, they're the defending champions. They beat Stradbally 16 points to 8, double scores. So they're into the semi-final. Portlaoise got over O'Dempsey's after extra time. Ricky Marr and Benny Carroll came on there, kind of gave them a bit more shape in the half forward line. Portlaoise were looking like they were in big trouble in that game and ended up winning it after extra time. So that's Laois Championship is into semi-final stages as well. Daithí Burke was sent off for Turlough and tell me about the club that I'd never heard of in my life that beat them. Kilnamena Leitrim. We're 9 points down against Turlough. Daithí Burke sent off, and then they collapsed.
Yeah, you weren't far off with that one. It was Kilnadima Leitrim.
Kilnadima.
But yeah, Turlough were 10 points up at one stage, and, like, sure, when you're winning a game by that much, and especially when you're fancy to win a game like that, yeah, I'd say you nearly kind of, right, this job is done. Like, we're through to the quarterfinals now. But Kilnadima Leitrim, they've been kind of, like, they wouldn't have been.
Why is Leitrim in their name?
Don't ask me.
An amalgamation with it.
It must be something like that. But they've been a decent club. They won an intermediate. Actually, I think they got to an All-Ireland intermediate final a few years back. But they've a good few young players now. Kilnadima Leitrim, the likes of Colin Malloy, Brian Malloy, and Dylan Tawalawi. He actually got the goal. I think it was just after Daithí Burke was sent off just after it. So it was kind of a bit of a double whammy for Turlough. And Kilnadima Leitrim just took over the game from there. And it's a great win for them, because Turlough, they were in the final last year.
Yeah.
I suppose if any club was tipped to beat St. Thomas's, Turlough were the club. So it's a great scalp for Kilnadima Leitrim, and they'll be buzzing heading into the quarterfinals.
One other one is Portumna, who I always keep my eye out for, because I always used to love watching him. Obviously, Joe Canning and our own Damien Hayes. Only lost to Gort, who were one of the big clubs, by 3 points. And this is a Portumna without Joe Canning.
Yeah, like I was tuning into this one myself as well, and like I live right beside Portumna, so like you were very disappointed for them to lose it, because the whole way through the game they look like winners of this one. I think they were up by 7 or 8 at half time, and by all accounts they were hurling very well, like, and to be doing that without Joe Canning, like it really is brilliant stuff from Portumna, because they had a very bad campaign last year, and this year though they've kind of gradually picked up steam. There's a few young lads coming on through. A lot of the older lads are gone, but Andy Smith is still there flying the flag for them.
A good one.
And a great one. Like he's tough as nails, like as tough a competitor as you'll ever come across, really. Like, and he's hurling great for them. And Ronan O'Mara as well. He's been on and off the Galway panel, but he's an absolutely gifted hurler. If there's a best club hurler who's not hurling county, I'd say Ronan O'Mara is the man.
What age is he?
He's around 25, year older than me, but he was brilliant Galway minor and
Portumna man.
Yeah, Portumna man, and he was been on and off senior panels, but managers haven't really taken to him, it seems. But
turning up the training issues or anything like that?
I couldn't tell you, Willie.
You're too close to be saying things like that, to be all over in Gort in the local nightclub after you, Niall. Some older generation still performing for their clubs. JJ Delaney scored 1-2 for Fenians. He's playing full forward now, Niall. Like, this is beyond belief. JJ scored 1 point in his entire Kilkenny career. It was in O'Moore Park, because we did a tribute show with him with Brian Cody, and Brian Cody was laughing. Brian Cody didn't even believe that he'd scored a point in his whole Kilkenny. Now playing full forward, he's doing a Paddy Deegan on it, 1-2. And for me, this makes so much sense. If you've got a paw like JJ Delaney, like maybe the greatest that's ever played, you would make an argument. If he's doing that in the full back line, what's saying he can't catch deliveries into the full forward line? And he's so close to the goals when he's catching them in there, he's hardly going to miss from in there. Like, I mean, if you have a good paw as a full back, you have to be a good full forward.
Yeah, Fenians seem to have seen the light, Wally. JJ, I was chatting to a lad from Fenians last year, because they were in I think it was the relegation final, and JJ was after popping up, and he caught an outrageous ball in the half back line and stuck it over the bar to help them survive as an intermediate club. But now he's gone up to the full forward line. I'd say this is his first year there, and just like Paddy Deegan, he seems to have slotted right in. But as you say, it's not too much of a lad like JJ. He could kind of hurl anywhere, because he's able to catch the ball, and sure, once he does that, instead of lamping it out the field, now all he has to do is turn around and stick it in the net.
Yeah.
And that's what he did at the weekend.
That's exactly what he did at the weekend. Get this one, Alan McNamee, he's 39. JJ's 39 as well. Alan McNamee is into his 20th county final. He's won 12 of them. Yeah, so he hasn't lost this one. He's won 12 and lost 7. I was surprised he lost that many of them when Road were so strong. Like, I mean, still going strong. Road play Tullamore. They lost to Tullamore, or they beat Tullamore by 2 points in last year's final. Road beat Durrow, who had beaten them in last year's knockout championship. So they got a bit of revenge. Some going there, Lee, 20th county final.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely unheard of. 20 county finals. Hopefully, if he wins this one, it'll be his 13th win. He's won 12 already, 7 losses. And it's just testament, to his hunger and his conditioning, and the fact that he just keeps wanting more and more. He's not satisfied being in double figures for county titles. And just fair play to him. Like, I mean, who knows when he'll actually stop and what the end figure could be.
Yeah, he's won them in 3 decades. 98, 4 decades. The noughties. What are the next decade called? The teens. And then the 20s. What is it before the 20s? Anyways, 4 decades he's won county titles in, which is sensational going. I've a 6 county title win, 2 loss ratio, which isn't too bad, is it?
Yeah, we're a bit behind Alan McNamee now. Like, for him,
my win ratio is better.
Well, there's no arguing with that one, in fairness. But to have played in 20 county finals, like, you often hear about lads when they're heading out to a county final, they say, this could be the biggest day of my life. Well, Alan McNamee, he's had a lot of those days, hasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly has. Kieran Donaghy played for Austin Stacks. They beat Ken Mayer yesterday to win 3 club titles in a row. Donaghy is 39, so still going very strong at 39. He didn't score, but he doesn't need to score to cause an awful lot of problems. I was told that club championship, I was told by a couple of people on direct messages. A lot of people send me direct messages, like they don't want to be seen sending them. Nobody gives a shit about that club championship in Kerry, I'm told, so I'm not going to spend too much time. The next one is the big one with the divisional teams in it. Wait and you get this. Ard Clock, 315, Quail Dove. I think I've gotten them right. 217, 1 point win in the Kildare Senior Hurling Championship quarter final for Ardclough. Tony Spain scored 1-2 for Ardclough. He's on the go a long time now for Kildare. 45, Niall. And his buddy Colin Buggy scored 1-1. He's 42. They both played wing forward. Traditionally a position where you have to cover a lot of ground.
That's a combined age of 87 for the wing forwards, I think. Like, Jesus Christ. You were saying
I hope
last
they're
week,
not wearing GPSs. Or
in fairness, you were saying last week that you'd prefer to see some of the older lads out in the middle of the field, sort of maybe in the half forward line, throwing the ball around,
yeah.
while a lot of them get pushed into the full forward line. But these boys, they're in the middle of it. Like, the wing forwards do as much running as anybody in a game of hurling. So, geez, fair play to the lads. They must have some commitment to stay going till that age.
Yeah, 45 is some age now. Like, I mean, I'm 43 and I'm struggling at junior B. Like, I mean, so to be playing senior hurling at 45 and scoring 1-2 from wing forward is some going. Another man who could easily get to 45 is Conall Keeney. He scored 1-1 for Ballyboden. They were beaten by Coola after extra time. He's 39. He's still playing dual. So he's not even getting his week off. He's playing every week. Like we're saying, John McGrath and Noel McGrath, they got very tired. You know, they were playing every week with their club. They're in their 20s. Connell's doing it at 39.
Yeah, like, I interviewed him before and he was actually kind of crediting the dual thing for, I suppose, keeping his enthusiasm going as well. And like, you can see where he's coming from that point of view as well. Like, but no, I seen a picture of him there yesterday. Sure, the man, like, he's in the condition he's in. Yeah. He's like a professional athlete, like, and he's as strong as anyone that's out on the field out there. And like, he by all accounts, he had a brilliant game yesterday for Ballyboden. They were just a little bit unlucky, but Coola, they're kind of like Ballyhale. They just managed to kind of grind out these tight games. Like, I think Conor Callaghan got 4 points. Darrell O'Connell was brilliant.
Read that Con only got 1 point now. Maybe we're reading different reports, because I was surprised at that. Sean Moran got 2-3 from corner forward. Now, Dublin need a corner. Dublin needs some kind of size and danger in there. Like, I mean, he has to be trialled out in there at some point.
He's been a strange one the last few years. Like,
yeah,
because
he's lost confidence, I think.
Yeah, like, he was for a few years there, he was such a brilliant player. And when Coola were winning the Club All-Irelands, like, he was the man. Like, but Dublin do need a forward. I think he was there last year too. I knew him on the show here, and he scored a good bit that day as well.
Scored a couple of goals one day, yeah.
But like, he's brilliant in the air, and he seems to be a good finisher as well. And definitely an option for Dublin. I know in the other quarter final there was big scores for Kilmacud Crokes. I think it was Ronan Hayes and Alex Considine scored like 1-14 between them or something. And Considine was like, Hayes, obviously he's been decent the last few years, but
yeah,
he seems to be improving all the time as well. And your man Considine, he was on the minors a few years ago, but he got 1-5 from play now in that quarter final. So I suppose they need forwards, so these are sort of green shoots for Dublin. Yeah,
definitely. Hayes has potential. Hayes and Sean Moran maybe in a full forward line for Dublin next year. We could keep our eye out for that. Cowlery, probably pronounced it wrong again, even though a fella DM'd me the exact pronunciation. They were in their first ever senior quarter final, and geez, they nearly did it. They nearly beat St. Lomans, who are defending champions. 8 points all. And Lomans scored 1-2 without reply in the last part of the game to beat them. So fair play to them. It's worth a shout out. Shane Curran's team in Westmeath, they were 2019 intermediate champions. They were 6-5 up at half time. So they're out. Anyway, Westmeath are in their semi-finals. Right, that's it for the club. That's probably the longest club roundup we've done since we started in the club season. We're going to come back for another little while and we'll talk about one or two other stories. Okay, so a little bit more championship restructures chat here now. Don't worry, hurling people, you're probably sick of this by now, but it's pretty important to the football people, so we have to keep pushing it because Special Congress is on, obviously, next weekend. And there is some new news since the last show. So the last show we were talking about Conor O'Donoghue's projections, where the Plan B stood to generate 10 million more. They were based off his... he kind of based his numbers off Super 8 attendances, and he was of the opinion that a Division 1 attendances for those 7 games would be similar to Super 8 attendances, and I thought that made a little bit of sense. The GAA weren't having this, Lee, because they have their Director of Finance, Jeremy Ryan. He sent treasurers in every county board his projections, and it has Plan B third on the list. Now, not much difference in the status than what the status quo is now, but at the same time, he had Plan B lower than the other two plans, even though Connor had it way above the other two plans. And amazingly, the GAA are basing their projections for a league-based championship. So the league is now in the summer and it's linked to the All-Ireland. It is the big show in town. They're based their projections off league attendances that are played in February and March.
Yeah, I think the GAA have showed their hand just a little bit with this one. You hear nothing from them for ages regarding the Plan B proposal, and then suddenly, when it becomes really public, potentially all these good things can happen financially. They come straight back out with, "Oh no, it's actually not that good. It's not that good." Everyone calm down with it. I don't know why they based it off the league. The league beforehand was always, and this is just tradition. This is the way it's always been. No one has any issue with this. But the league beforehand was always preparation for the championship. Now, a bigger and better preparation than say like a McKenna Cup or a Byrne Cup or something, and taken still very seriously. People wanted to be promoted. They wanted to be in the best division that they can be, but it was still just build up. It was still second tier compared to the main championship. So I don't know why they took the league attendances or the attendance figures based on that when the league-based championship is the championship. They're getting it confused. They're saying that it's a league and then it becomes a championship. It's not. The whole thing is the championship. So I feel like you got to take them attendance figures from previous championships. It's just that's it. It's the only way that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how some people are discrediting it by saying that there's the league and then the quarterfinals preliminary quarterfinals, that's the championship. That's not it. It's a league-based championship. Those 7 games are championship games. Why are people not getting that? I don't understand it. They're played in the summer. They're filtering in to the All-Ireland quarterfinals. They're all championship matches, and that's it. There's no confusion about this. So I do feel that the GAA showed their hand, Niall, by releasing these figures, which has the status quo as the most lucrative. And that's the big worry, that the GAA don't want to change anything other than bring in the Talton Cup. They have the Plan B. Now, there's minimal enough differences in between the amounts anyways. The status quo is 19.6 million revenue generated and the Plan B is 18.8. So it's pretty negligible. And this is based off the worst league-based championship figures that you could possibly imagine. You're averaging 9,000. In Division 1, Niall. It's incredible what they've done here. And I'm very, very concerned about what they're pushing behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think it's fairly unbelievable, really, that they are using that gauge, that using league attendances and saying that will be the championship attendances. That's championship clearly will have more of a draw
in the summer.
This isn't just a league. It has the kind of rewards and the risk of a championship game. So I think any spectator, any supporter, any punter, they'll be looking forward to these games as if they're sort of championship games. And as you mentioned it there, that the quarter-final, that's when the championship starts. The only thing I could compare that to is the setup they have there in the Kilkenny Club Hurling Championship, where it's the league, say, starting off and then it's into the championship. But sure, all those clubs take the league just as important, because that's what that's the start of your championship campaign, and that defines your form and whether you're going to be competing.
Yeah.
No, it's
so even I was talking to Brian McAvoy, and I used the example of the Munster League and how the attendances, they're league games now. If the GAA want to call them league games, it's a league championship, and the attendances haven't suffered at all. And Brian McAvoy said, they haven't suffered. This was in the context of comparing them to the provincial championships that's going to be run off on a round robin. But if the Munster Championship hasn't suffered attendances from championship knockout to league-based championship, why do they think that the league-based championship in Gaelic football is going to be, so much lower than what a normal championship game is? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I do worry a lot. I think there's a meeting on tonight. I worry a lot that if the finance director is sending around that kind of information, it's very, very obvious to me, Lee, where the GAA are leaning. Because, and if you even want to accuse Conor O'Donoghue for overinflating the numbers, I don't think he has, but you could accuse him. Why can't they meet somewhere in the middle between his overinflation and their very, very conservative league numbers, which everyone would agree that you cannot compare a league-based championship to a league. One played in May, June, and the other played in February, March. One a warm-up to the championship, the other the championship. Like, why can't they at least even meet somewhere in the middle, which would make Plan B, the most, generate the most revenue? The mind boggles. It really, really does.
Well, I think you answered your own question. The reason that they were conservative with them numbers that they released was because they don't want Plan B going forward, and they want to present it as though it's a really flawed system, and that it won't bring in many more revenue, and then people shouldn't vote for it or shouldn't want it. I don't really get it, because there's loads of contradictions with it all now. I thought the issue originally, or one of the main issues, was that the provincial championships, they'll become pre-season tournaments, and then they'll lose all their value. And then the league becomes the main championship, and it'll have all the value. So why would they take the league-based attendances according to that if the provincial championships is going to be the pre-season? Do you know, like,
Yeah.
which is it?
Yeah.
Like, it's one or the other. Like, I mean, if you're going to pick a flaw, pick one, and stick to your guns at the very least. The fact that then the provincial champions will be done. You'll have winners, you'll have losers, and people will start making their predictions for the championship, based on form and based on different things. And then there'll be build up. The weather will be scorching hot. Everyone will be getting their tickets for the matches. You'll have the biggest names in town playing each other because of the Division 1, and then your own county will be playing teams, on par with themselves. So there's actually winnable games. So I can't see why more people wouldn't go to that, But I understand they have to pick something to base figures on, hypothetically. But the league-based figures, it makes just zero sense to me. I mean, they're still picking a pre-season tournament, or a tournament that is, a warm-up, whatever way you want to call it, to replace the championship statistics. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, so the GPA had released a statement pretty soon after this came out. John Fogarty had that in the Examiner, and he says the GPA are delighted the GA has confirmed that there would be no meaningful financial impact should proposal be backed at Special Congress, with only a 4.1% difference between any eventuality using the GA's surprisingly conservative attendance figures. Given that there has been a concern expressed, we're happy to see it's now clarified and should put delegates' minds at ease on this matter. A clever response really from the GPA, twisting this into a positive, which, realistically it is a positive. No, 4.1% difference, tiny difference. And this is using the lowest numbers that could ever possibly happen. So I think any delegate or any treasurer with half a brain in their heads will go, Plan B is going to make more money.
That was nicely done by the GPA.
It was
show no weakness. Like, that was their kind of motto going into that one. But no, like, it is, not to be going back on it, but it is not only is it kind of clutching on straws from the GA to use the league, it's kind of it's misleading, like, on top of everything else. Like, so no, you'd be hoping that they reach the right outcome on Saturday. But as a hurling person, I'd be glad to hear the end of it anyway.
Yeah, well, as a hurling person, do you really give a shit?
No, I couldn't care less.
Well, I appreciate your honesty on that, Niall. I get that impression for you. Like, I see it in your face. Will this talk ever? Can we never move on from this? Again, that's why I've apologised to hurling people like you that are listening and having the show polluted with big ball talk that they don't care about, because obviously the hurling championship has a great structure, and the big teams, the Division 1 teams, play each other all the time, and that's why hurling dominates the championship every June, to the point where you might only see one Gaelic football game in the whole month, So, like, I mean, this is what Gaelic football fans want to see changed. They want to see all the big teams playing each other more often in the football championship, just like the hurling championship. So it's not hard to understand, what everybody wants here. One other one before we get going is James Horan was on the radio. I think he was on local Midwest radio or something this morning. Was it Midwest radio? And he's completely, he has completely, denied that there is any rift in the Mayo backroom team. So he said the amount of untruths. One thing I always wonder about untruths. Why do people say untruths instead of lies? Is there some reason for this, that you see the word untruth the whole time instead of a lie? Like, if James Horan's saying it's not true, well, then it's a lie. So he says the amount of untruths that were published on this has just been phenomenal. Ciara MacDonald and James Burke and myself have been working over the last number of weeks to plot and plan for the new season. And that's really where we need to be. To me, it's bonkers. It's bonkers how people... that was published and then people ran with it based on absolutely nothing. It's a complete untruth. Lie. Look, that's where it is. I can't control that. I can't do anything about it. I don't know, Lee. I don't want to say we're guilty. We speculated if that's true with Kieran MacDonald, why would that be? Without saying that was reported a lot, probably locally in Mayo. More than anything else. I don't think we're guilty for spreading it. We just talked about what potential, why that might be if it is true. But James Horan saying there's absolutely nothing to see here, and hard to understand how someone would just make that up.
Well, first of all, in terms of using untruths, it's like media training 101, basically, because if you say they're lies, then it means that there is a liar, and then media publications can take it as James Horan's having an attack on them, and then he starts a war with them. It's all very silly and it's all very formal, but that's what he's trying to avoid anyway. In terms of the rumor circle and stuff, like he says that there's nothing he could do to control it or to stop it. But I'm thinking, like, it's 5 weeks after the championship that they lost that All Ireland against Tyrone, and he's only and putting a stop to it by saying, actually, none of this is true. Kieran MacDonald's been in my house. I've been talking to everybody. Everyone's still friends. We agree on most things. And he even joked that the only thing they disagree on is the music and everything's rosy. So now that is that put to the name, but I just don't see why it couldn't have came out earlier, why they couldn't have just, and squashed it pretty much from the off.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. That's a good point. Maybe he didn't want to give it the attention and that it deserved, and because he thought it was an untruth. And maybe, when it started growing legs, maybe he said, I think he mentioned something about wanting to speak to the county board first or something, maybe to see what the plans for the following year. But that's it. He says, Kieran Mack has been in my house, I don't know how many times. We talk maybe 4 or 5 times a day, plotting and planning what we can do. And working with James. He talked about, he says, I'm working with James. I know there was a clip that was sent around of James Burke saying something to me. There was a couple of 100 people behind us and it was a little bit noisy. So I asked James to repeat what he said, and it's been taken out of context. I think this is a video, I've never seen this video, but I hear it's a video. It looked like James Horan shouting at James Burke, and I'd say people maybe read into that and put one and one together and got, 3 or 4. But the reality is, James Horan and Kieran MacDonald are ex-teammates. They go back a long way, so I don't know. Maybe it was just the disappointment of it. And I think often after All Ireland's in Mayo, there's a fallout, and a lot of these things start going around anyways, probably like most counties.
There seems to be a whole load of untruths going around up in Mayo, Wooly. But it is, I suppose, after when a team loses, you kind of just, I suppose, people are looking for a scapegoat.
You want to find out why, and it's because they don't get along and the selectors don't, I suppose it's trying to...
Like it happened down in Kerry there, was it last year, the year previous as well. So it kind of just, I suppose, when things go wrong, people want a person to lay it all on, and I suppose that kind of happened in Mayo. There was a whole lot of different kind of, we'll say, untruths. That's what they're calling them, and because Lee's after teaching me a good one.
Yeah,
there.
it's a legal thing, you see. If you say something's a lie, then the person is a liar, and now you could get sued for it.
Geez, I'll never write a liar in an article again now. Cheers for that one, Lee.
Yeah. Well, I think if a lie is a lie, then the person that did it is a liar. Because if James Horan says he's in my house every day, well, then the person that wrote it... Okay, listen, I'm not going to go...
2021.
2021, you can't say anything anymore. He's defended Aidan O'Shea as well. He said that the timing of that article coming out the week before the All-Ireland wasn't good. So I suppose that was fair enough. Defended Aidan O'Shea then and other things, stuff he does in the community. And most people know that about Aidan O'Shea. Anyway, so that's it. The panic in Mayo is over. Very disappointed in their All-Ireland performance, he said, as well, which is fair enough. And, fixed a few things, and you're right, Lee, he needed to do that, and like you say, he could have potentially done it a little bit sooner than he did. But anyways, that's it. That's all we've time for today, lads. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll look ahead. Definitely Naomh Conaill Kilcar match will take centre stage, so we'll talk to you all then. Good luck.